From the land of 10,000 lakes and just as many heartaches, welcome to the 301 Show. We're here to celebrate, commiserate, and maybe, just maybe, see a Minnesota team win it all. Whether you're dreaming of a Vikings Super Bowl, reliving the glory days of the Twins, or still recovering from the Timberwolves roller coaster, we've got you covered. This is the 301 Show, where the North remembers and the passion never fades.
Welcome into episode 37 of the 301 Show. We've got a great show on tap here today. The Lynx are in the playoffs. They have advanced out of the first round. We'll get into that series, the first round series, and preview the round 2 series. And we will get into the Vikings' absolute defensive juggernaut game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Wild have an update on the Kirill contract, as well as playing their first preseason game. As we move into our first team segment here, the Rinkside Rundown. Again, not really going to go over anything for the Frosts because they are still smack dab in the middle of their off season. But as for the Wild, there are two big things that I mentioned. I did mention them in the intro. The Kirill Kaprizov had a press conference, and it was the obviously very anticipated press conference. He didn't have his translator there. He's been trying to make a point of speaking in English by himself, and so he didn't have a translator. The big thing is that he referred all questions to his about his contract to his agent. He said, "Talk to my agent about it," and he just wanted to talk about hockey basically, and his exact quote was, he also then called Minnesota his second home. Obviously, he's from Russia, but he called Minnesota his second home, and his exact quote was, "I like Minnie, and everybody knows this. We have a lot of time. It's just 2025, and it's one more year I have. I just want to play hockey and focus and win some games and go in playoffs and win there." Now, again, it seems like a simple quote. It seems pretty obvious. It seems like a pretty obvious quote, too. But there's two parts of this that I want to break down. First of all, the beginning of it, he likes Minnesota. He says he has a lot of time left here, and he goes, he said the big part of this is it's one more year I have. So there's part of me that is like, yeah, you have one more year on this deal, and then there's another part of me that's like, is he saying he only has one more year left in Minnesota because he isn't going to be re-signing? Maybe I'm just reading too much into this, but because they have played their first preseason game, as I've said before, and his extension is not signed yet, that turns the panic meter up a little bit for me. So I'm starting to panic a little more, and I think too, like I've said, the Wild, Craig Leopold, the owner, and Bill Guerin want an 8-year deal. Kirill Kaprizov, I don't think, wants an 8-year deal with the Minnesota Wild. I think he wants to have like a 4 to 5 year deal, probably a 4-year deal, as a prove-it deal for the Wild. A Wild prove-it deal. The Wild need to prove to him that they are going to make the necessary steps to win a championship. And that was where the second part of this quote comes in. He says, "I just want to play hockey and focus and win some games and go into playoffs and win there." When he says, "I want to go into the playoffs and win there," he's not saying, "I want to go into the playoffs and win 2 games against Vegas in the first round and then get knocked out." He wants to win 4 games against Vegas and move on. He would rather win 2 playoff series than win 2 games in the first round. And again, this is where I go back. I've said this entire time too. What have the Wild done to prove that that they are taking the necessary steps to win games? I don't think they've proven enough, if at all, to him that they are on a track to go win playoff games and actually win playoff series. I really don't think that they have done that enough in since he signed the initial extension back in I believe it was the summer of 2021 is when he signed that deal. But he has just not been given enough evidence to show that this team is actually on the right track to win games. I don't see it with this team. And I have proof too. Look at last season. With Kirill Kaprizov, this team was, I believe, a top 3 team in the Western Conference. I think it was only Winnipeg at the beginning of the year. Is Winnipeg and Vegas that were better than him or better than the Wild, and it was maybe Washington and one other team in the East. So they were a top 5 or 6 team in the entire NHL. They went 19-19-3 without him. It went 5. If you don't want to give them the loser point for losing in overtime, they went under 500 in terms of just straight up wins and losses. They were under 500 without Kirill Kaprizov. That's not good enough to even if you add Kirill in there, that's not good enough to go win or even make it to a Stanley Cup. You need more depth than that. You need another solid piece that is a star to go. You need a superstar and a star to go win a Stanley Cup. And then more depth on top of that. You need goaltending too. That's why Edmonton didn't win it last year, because they had the 2 superstars with Draisaitl and McDavid, but they didn't have the goaltending. The Wild have the goaltending with Philip Gustafsson. Also doesn't help that he got hurt last year. But Philip Gustafsson is a fantastic goaltender. Better than any goaltender the Oilers have. But they don't have a solid number 2, a consistently solid number 2. You can make an argument that a Matt Boldy can be that number 2, and I think he can be. It's just he is very, very streaky. I would rather have him take half a step back from that peak, but do that level of production for all 82 games. Then what he does right now is he is at his peak, and then he takes 7 steps backwards for 3 games, and then takes 7 steps forward for 3 games. And in those games he takes 7 steps back, it looks like it would be better to have Sammy Walker up here. And Boldy, right now, Boldy cannot be relied on to be that number 2, forward in the Wild's organization. I don't think so. So they just need to do more with around Kaprizov, and now they have the money, which is great. Go spend it. They have the money, and just need to actually build a team around your superstar. And for the longest time too, Parisi and Suter, when Parisi and Suter was here, the number one thing was this is the deepest team in the NHL, but they didn't have true superstars. They didn't have that player. Like Parisi and Suter were stars. They were good, but they weren't the Kaprizov great. They weren't that great player that Kaprizov is. They didn't have that great superstar player to push them over the edge to get them out of the second round. I mean, it's 2015 was the last time they made it out of the first round of the playoffs. So 2003 was the last time they made it out of the second round? That it's just not this isn't a recipe for success at this point. Now, again, we're coming in here on the start of the season. We had the first preseason game, and they won the first preseason game 3-2 in overtime. Again, like I said with the Vikings preseason, the score and the results do not matter. It is how each individual player plays. It is to see who these games are mostly to see who will actually make the roster. Jesper Wallstedt looked pretty good. Stopped 21 of 23 shots against the Jets. Trennan scored 2 goals, including the game winner in overtime. Hunter Height scored a goal. Now, this is where, to me, it's the most important stats. But again, you can go back to, I believe it was episode 1 of this show. We were talking about the first preseason games, and they looked a lot like this, where these stats looked a lot similar, and these stats were a lot different in the regular season. They were 50.8% from the faceoff dot. They were not 50.8%, not even close to 50.8% from the faceoff dot in the regular season. They were 1 for 3 on the power play, 33%. Nowhere close to 33% on the playoffs, or on the power play during the regular season last year. 75% on the penalty kill, killed off 3 out of 4. That was pretty close, but still worse than they still did better in that first preseason game than they did in the entire regular season. So you can't solely look at these stats. These stats look good if they can continue them throughout the entire season. They have to continue them throughout the entire season. If not, the preseason stats don't matter. They don't. And you have to be. This starts massively with winning faceoffs. Every single stat in hockey gets helped out massively by if you're winning faceoffs, because then you control the puck. Then you are the one with the puck on your stick instead of the other team having it on their stick. Like if you can win the faceoff and control the puck, you are more likely to score goals and get shots and do everything you need to win games. So they need to be above 50% from the faceoff dot this season, because they weren't last year. They were nowhere close to 50%. They were one of, if not the worst teams in the NHL from the faceoff dot. So that absolutely has to change this regular season. And if the first preseason game is an indication, that should be better this year. So they need to improve a lot of things here. Not only to win games this year, but to keep Kaprizov around for the future. So let's move on here to the predictions. Had one come off the board. Said Kirill signs an extension before the first preseason game. He did not. That is 17 total correct out of 59 total predicted. And that is a 29% rate. So a lot more of these will be coming off the board. A lot more of the Rinkside Rundown will be coming off the board here now, because we actually have we're actually out of the off-season, the boring part of the off-season, and getting into stuff that I can predict will come off the board for next week. So we've got 3 predictions coming on the board. So I said the Wild play the Stars twice in the preseason. They will beat the Stars twice in the preseason. They play 3 preseason home games. They will win all 3 preseason home games. The Wild play 2 against the Chicago Blackhawks in the preseason. They will split those 2 games against the Chicago Blackhawks in the preseason. And that doesn't include if they lose in overtime, that's still a loss. I'm not going this based off of points percentage. It will just be, if you look at it straight up, a win or a loss. They will go 1-1 against Chicago in the preseason. All right, moving on now to Target Field Talkers. This will probably be a shorter. I don't really have any news to go over with this other than some rankings and just how they did this against the Guardians. But the Twins have fallen to 67 and 89. They are in 4th place in the AL Central. They are 11th in the AL Wild Card. Their team batting average is .239, tied for 22nd. They are hitting, their on base percentage is 312, which is 20th. Slugging percentage is 398, which is tied for 14th. On base plus slugging is 17th at 710. Runs scored 661, tied for 21st. Home runs is 184, that is 11th in the MLB. So pretty good home run hitting team, basically top third of the league. Walks is 480 walks, 19th. Strikeouts, 1,307 strikeouts at the plate. That is 16th fewest, so right in the middle. Stolen bases, 107 stolen bases. That is also 16th. Again, also another one right in the middle. Their pitching, they are at 4.67 ERA. That is 26th. The whip is 1.33, which is tied for 23rd. They have 1,308 strikeouts, which is 16th. Walks is 450. That is tied for 3rd. So this has been absolutely brutal in terms of the pitching from the beginning of the season to now. Like this has been a massive fall off. They used to have a ERA in the mid threes through the first I want to say month and a half of the season. And it was the hitting that couldn't keep up. And a big part of this is Bailey Oberg, just hasn't pitched that well this year, and his stock has gone down. But their pitching has absolutely plummeted this year. Now, obviously, again, it doesn't help post-trade deadline that they traded half of their pitching staff away. That definitely doesn't help either. So, massive drop-off in the pitching rankings. In terms of fielding rankings, they have 81 errors on this season. That is tied for 17th. The fielding percentage is 985. That is also tied for 17th. So fielding team, again, slightly below average, just not super, super good. Fielding team too. This isn't the where you've got Torrey Hunter out in the outfield. You do have Byron Buxton in the outfield, but you don't have, Hunter and Mauer behind the plate, and this team used to have just dudes all over the place that can make plays consistently, and it's really only Buxton at this point is what it looks like. Now, obviously, a lot of the guys are younger guys and still adjusting to the big league level, but at some point that can't be the excuse the entire time. You have to start expecting those guys to actually perform well. So I also think getting rid of Harrison Bader, too, doesn't help the fielding because you basically had two center fielders in the outfield, one in left field and one in center field. With Bader in left and Buxton in center, you had two guys that could play center field and were really, really good outfielders from a defensive standpoint. Obviously, Buxton also fantastic at the plate, which Harrison Bader has absolutely stepped it up in Philadelphia. He's playing so well. He's hitting so well in Philadelphia. I believe his batting average is over 300 since going to Philadelphia. So fantastic to see from him. Obviously, it doesn't really affect the Twins all that much at this point because they are going absolutely nowhere this season. And the fans seem to not care at this point. And that is arguably worse than being mad and having anger, because it will take a lot more to get you back if you just simply do not care. But if we look back from last episode, again, it was a bit of a short week here from episode to episode. But we've got a 4-game series upcoming here not upcoming here. The Twins just finished a 4-game series. It was the last series of home series of the year. They lost 6-2 on Friday in Game 1. They lost 6-0 in Game 2 on Saturday. They lost 8-0 on Game 3 on Saturday evening. So they lost by a combined 14-0 and took home 2 L's on Saturday during their doubleheader. It was a makeup game from earlier in the season. Then Game 4, they actually did win by a final score of 6-2. Looking ahead here, they got a 3-game series in Texas against the Rangers, and then a 3-game series against Bader's Philadelphia Phillies. Also, Kepler and Johan Duran are also on that team too. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see those couple of guys too, and especially Bader too. I'd love to see him actually hit well against the Twins. He might not play because they might have their playoff spot already locked up, or he might play one or two of the games, but not all three. Yeah, we've got quite a few predictions that came off the board here in the Target Field Talkers segment. We'll start with the bad stuff here, the incorrect stuff here. I said that there will be at least 3 games this year with an announced attendance of less than 10,000 at Target Field. That did not happen. I think there are too many season tickets sold that they, again, announced attendance is not scanned tickets. Announced attendance is bought tickets. So it's how many tickets were bought. So I think there were going to be too many season tickets sold. Were there games where there were less than 10,000 people? I bet you there was 5 to 10 of them where there were less than 10,000 fans in the stadium. But again, they had to announce them as more than 10,000 because there were more than 10,000 tickets sold. So the second prediction that was wrong was in that Yankees series before the Guardians series. I said Royce Lewis would hit a home run against the Yankees. He did not. He hit one against the Guardians, I believe, in that series right after that. So not against the Yankees, but he did against the Guardians. I said that Carlos Correa will play 120-plus games. Royce Lewis will play 100 games, 100-plus games, and Byron Buxton will play 80-plus. The Correa and Buxton part, both of them had been true for a while. We were just waiting on the Royce Lewis to play 100 games part, and he did against the Guardians. Now, this is also with the caveat that I did not specify which team that they had to play their games with. It was just in the MLB, basically. So the Correa part did play 120 plus MLB games, not all of them with the Twins. I said that Brooks Lee will not play for the Saints the rest of the year. I predicted that back in like late May, maybe early June. And he did not. He has not played for the Saints the rest of the year, and the Saints are done with their season. So he will not play for the Saints the rest of this season. I said that the Twins will finish in 4th place in the AL Central. There are not enough games for them to move up or down, so they will finish in 4th place in the AL Central. I also said that last week, I said that the Twins will lose exactly 3 out of 4 games against the Cleveland Guardians, and they lost exactly 3 out of 4 games against the Cleveland Guardians. So that one is also correct. With those 4 correct predictions, my total now is up to 24 total correct out of 77 total predicted. It is good for 31% correct predictions. Moving on here to the three predictions coming on the board. Twins will get the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 MLB draft. Royce Lewis will play 110 or more MLB games in 2026. Again, I'm using the caveat that it doesn't need to be all with the Twins. He will just play 110 plus MLB games in 2026. And on January 1st, 2027, the Pohlads will still own the Twins. So basically in the next year and 3 months, they will, or 2 months, whatever it is, they will not sell the Twins. All right, now moving on to the Wolves' Den. We will start with the Timberwolves here. There was a NBA offseason survey. There's 20 coaches, scouts, and executives that answered a bunch of different questions, and I will bring up a couple here. There's a couple that the Timberwolves, either the team or the players, did not come up in. I will I will be only highlighting one of those. So first one here, the first question here was, who will win the MVP. There were 6 players to get a vote. Anthony Edwards got one of those votes. Both Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic were the 2 leaders in that. Jokic was the leader with, I believe, 11 of the 20 votes. They then were asked who is the best American player right now. Steph got 11 votes. He was number 1. And Anthony Edwards was second with 8 votes. So there was 19 votes between Steph and Ant. And then the next question they were asked, or another question they were asked, was who will be the best American player in 5 years? With 11 of the 20 votes, Anthony Edwards comes in at your favorite between these 20 coaches, scouts, and executives to be the best American player in 5 years. But the big one here, this is the one, first of all, I agree with all of that. I don't know if Ant will be the favorite right now to win MVP, so him getting 1 vote, I think, is right. He deserves to be in that conversation, but I don't know if he is I think Jokic probably still has that best chance to win it again. I do think Steph probably is the best American-born player right now. I think Ant is probably in that conversation for second. Maybe you could say KD should be in that second option right now, but based off of last season, I think it's Ant and Steph are the top 2. I think Ant very much has the best chance to be, or a very good chance to be, the best American player in 5 years. I think if this was like 7 or 8 years, I think that probably shifts to Cooper Flagg, but just because Ant has more NBA experience than Cooper Flagg, I think he probably has the best chance to be the best American player in 5 years. But the biggest one, the one I disagree with the most, is they asked who will win each conference and the NBA title. And the Eastern they broke it down who you vote for an Eastern Conference team to win the East, a Western Conference team to win the West, and then just any of the NBA teams to win the title. So in the East, there was like 5, I forgot to write them down, but there's like 5 or 6 teams get votes. It was the typical teams. It was Celtics, Cavs, Knicks, I think were up in there. Maybe a couple Pacers, I think, maybe a couple others that I'm forgetting right now. But they then asked who's going to win the Western Conference, and there were 2 teams that got votes, and that was the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And those were the only 2 teams to get votes. And that is where I am very confused, because I think the Wolves deserve to get at least 1 vote in that. I don't know if, I think it's like, do I agree that those 2 teams are probably the best 2 teams in the Western Conference right now? Yeah, I do. I do think they're probably the 2 best teams in the Western Conference right now. And I think it's, right now, I don't think you can say that again, just right now, without having played a game this season, I don't know how OKC is not the favorite to make it back at least to the NBA Finals, with, basically keeping their entire team and their entire team basically just being the age of, the average age being 23 years old. I don't know how they're not the best team and the favorites. So that part I'm not like really like super upset with, but the fact that like Minnesota didn't get a single vote, Houston didn't get a single vote. Those 2 teams to me are should have gotten at least 1 vote. It should have been a 4-team, and like again, I can understand it too. Of the only 2 teams that were who these guys thought were going to win the NBA title were Denver and OKC. So like, again, I get it. I get that. I can understand that part of it too, but I just don't understand how the Wolves didn't get at least 1 vote on that part of it. And yeah, so I don't understand that part of it. So that's my biggest gripe with that survey. Again, they've probably forgotten more about basketball than I will ever know in my life. So that is why I am sitting here doing talking at a camera, doing a YouTube podcast. But We'll move on to the Lynx as they finish up their series against the Golden State Valkyries. They won game 2, 75-74. They completed the 2-game sweep of Golden State. Fisa Collier had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal in 39 minutes. Absolute stud. In round 2, they are taking on the Phoenix Mercury in a best-of-5 series. And the regular season series went the way of the Lynx in a 3-1 series. So that would, if that same score happened in this series, that would, if that's how the first 4 games of this series went, that would be enough for the Lynx to advance to the WNBA Finals. The winner of this series does play the winner of the Las Vegas Aces and Indiana Fever. And again, the Las Vegas Aces are on, at least to end the regular season. I didn't look at their playoffs. I think they lost to the Fever in game 1 of that series, so this is definitely over now. But at the end of the regular season, they were on a 16-game winning streak. So they are absolutely on fire coming into the playoffs at least. But in terms of the hometown team, the Lynx took on the Mercury in game 1 at Target Center. They won 82-69. Collier had another fantastic game, 34 minutes, 18 points, 8 of 16 shooting. She also had 9 rebounds and 2 assists. So the game 2 will be hosted at Target Center. That would be Tuesday. Again, is tomorrow. I'm recording this on Monday. So if you're listening on the day it's uploaded, that will be tomorrow at 6:30 at Target Center. Game 3 will shift to Phoenix. That will be Friday at 8:30 Central Time, the 26th. Game 4, if necessary, will be the timing. The actual time of the game is still to be determined, but that will take place on Sunday, September 28th. Game 5. Also to be determined exactly what time, also if necessary, will take place back here at Target Center on Tuesday, September 30th. So those 2 games are still TBD on the time part of it, but Tuesday and Sunday this weekend and then next week will be game 4 and 5 if necessary. The Lynx do look good enough to where they could very well sweep this series. Yeah. As for the Lynx, they did have a bunch of predictions of mine come off the board. They helped me out a lot here on this one. 5 predictions off the board, all for the Lynx. First, we'll start again with the bad. The Lynx, I said the Lynx will win game 2 of the first round by 25 plus points. They won it, but only by 1 point. I said the Lynx will score 100 plus points in game 2 of the first round. They did not. They scored 75. Still got the win, though. That's obviously more important. This one should have come off last week, but caught it now. Said the Lynx don't lose back-to-back games the rest of the regular season. They did not from when, I forget exactly. This is a week or 2 to go into I think 2 weeks left of the regular season. So they did not lose back-to-back games the rest of the regular season from when I predicted that. I said the Lynx will sweep the first round. They swept the first round. And then the Lynx will allow 85 points or less in game 2. They allowed 74, so that is also correct. So those 3 right predictions bring that up to 27 total correct on the Wolves Den segment. That is also out of 81 total predictions that have come off the board. And then the percentage is 33%. We've got 3 predictions coming on the board now. All 3 of them are Lynx predictions. So these 3 coming on the board. Lynx will win game 2 of round 2. The Lynx will also win game 3. The 2 separate predictions, but the Lynx will win game 3 of round 2. And then the Lynx will win finals game 1 of the WNBA final. So that one kind of a parlay they will get to the WNBA finals and win game 1. So that, again, none of those are reliant on each other. If they lose game 2 but win game 3, that is 1 out of 2 correct. If they lose both of those but still win game 4 and 5 and then go on to win game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, or not the Western Conference Finals, excuse me, of the WNBA Finals, that is 1 out of 3 correct. If they win all 3 of those games, obviously it's all 3 correct. So for my prediction's sake and the sake of the team, we will hope that they win all 3 of those games. Moving on to the final team segment of the Nordic Report. Massive game here against the Cincinnati Bengals. We will go to the team rankings first. For the team rankings, the record is 2-1. They are 1-0 in the division. They are tied for 4th in the NFC. They are tied for 1st in the NFC North with the Green Bay Packers. And again, as I am recording this, Monday Night Football has not happened yet, so the Detroit Lions have not played yet. The offense is 28th in the NFL at 268 yards per game. They are 6th, though, in the NFL. And again, part of this is the defense scored, but the Vikings as a whole, points for per game is 27 points for per game, and that is 6th in the NFL. On third down, they are 11 of 35 for 31.4%. That is 28th in the NFL. On fourth down, they're 2 of 3 at 66.7%. That is tied for 12th. The defense, yards per game, they're giving up 271.3 yards per game. That is 6th. 6th fewest in the NFL. The points per game, or points against per game, is 18.7. That is tied for 9th fewest. On third down, the Vikings defense are 26 of 38. That is 68.4% stoppage rate. They are 5th on that. And then fourth down, teams have only gone for it once against them. They are 1 for 1 on stopping fourth down. That is obviously tied for first place. In terms of special teams, by the way, the rankings ones, the downs are based off of the percentage that they have gotten. So it is not based off of how many, the straight up numbers. It is more the percentages. For special teams, again, these are also the percentage ones when applicable here. It's the percentages that apply, not the number of times done. So field goals, they are 6 for 6. Will Reichert is 6 for 6 on field goals. It is tied for first at 100%. His PATs are 100% at 7 for 7. We'll get into him later when we recap the Cincinnati game. We'll get into his long too then, but know that he improved his long. He is now up to 2nd in the NFL in the longest field goal made this season. Again, it's only week 3, but still. If we look back here at the Cincinnati game, the Vikings win against the Cincinnati Bengals 48-10. This game was 34-3 at halftime. Again, massive game out of Isaiah Rodgers. 3 solo tackles. He had a scoop and score. He had an 189-yard pick 6, and it was the single highest graded game in PFF history. So Pro Football Focus gives every player a grade, and he had the highest grade in the history that they have been giving out these grades. Some other players I want to go over. We'll just go into Will Reichert again. He was 2 for 2 on field goals. Got 2 field goals. His long was 62 yards. Snuck it right in the right inside the right upright. But 62-yard field goal. He was on the other side of the 50 when he kicked it. And he was 1 for 1 on extra points going into the game. He is now 7 for 7 on extra points after going 6 for 6 yesterday. So absolutely fantastic. He has been the most consistent player, I believe, on the Vikings this year just because he's that mostly that Atlanta game. He was the only one actually out there scoring points for the Vikings. Then we'll go over this. Josh Metellus, another fantastic game out of him. He had 4 solo tackles. He had an interception. I think he had a combined tackle too. So he had 5 total tackles, 4 of them being solo tackles. Both the tight ends, Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson, had a receiving touchdown. That was TJ Hawkinson's first receiving touchdown since before his knee injury in 2023. I should say regular season receiving touchdown. He had the 1 receiving touchdown in the playoffs last year against the Los Angeles Rams. And we'll get into more of him in just a second here. There's 2 more players I want to go over. Carson Wentz, 14 of 20, 173 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, took 3 sacks. Then Jordan Mason, 16 carries, 116 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. So all of that looks fantastic, right? 2 massive pieces came back. Harrison Smith and Christian Darrisaw. Again, Harrison Smith, maybe not the best game, by the score sheet, by the stats, but he was helping. But like there was a play where he moved Ivan Pace, and the guy, the running back, ran right at Ivan Pace, and he was able to make the stop. Like he is, again, even if it doesn't show up in the scorebook, he is helping. This is like the Justin Jefferson theory. Justin Jefferson had a couple of, again, look at the score sheet, looked like they were bad games last year. But he was being double covered, and Addison went off for like 150 yards in those games. And so he has an effect on the game, even if he's not putting up the numbers himself. So both Harrison Smith and Justin Jefferson, I feel like, have that. And one is because, Justin Jefferson obviously is so good because he's getting double teams because he is so good, and that pulls defenders away from him. Harrison Smith, it's because he might be the smartest dude on the football field. Like, he is, with the experience, is Notre Dame kid too. Like, he was just massively smart and can play the game smartly and play super well. Then Christian Darrisaw coming back too. Massive help. Obviously Jordan Mason had over 116 yards had 116 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. That helps massively that you have your left tackle back. He was taken out right before I think it was the last drive before the first half, and then basically didn't play any of the fourth quarter. And that was not because he was hurt, it was because they didn't want him to get hurt again. And the game was out of hand at that point, and they're like, no, we'll put in our backups at that point. Max Brosmer got some time, undrafted free agent quarterback out of the University of Minnesota. Fantastic to see him in there. But Christian Darrisaw, having him back can free up a lot of other options because he is that good. He's a top, 3 to 4, maybe 5 left tackles in the league. You could make the argument that he's a top 10 to 15 offensive lineman in the entire NFL. And he is, his presence being back is massive for the success of this team. And the thing I wanted to talk about with TJ Hawkinson, they mentioned on the broadcast, Jim Nance and Tony Romo mentioned on the broadcast, it might have seemed like TJ Hawkinson didn't have that great of games in weeks 1 and 2, and then just came out of nowhere in week 3. Part of that was because Darrisaw was back, and he didn't have to help block. He didn't have to help Justin Skor or whoever, I can't remember who Walter Rouse, I think, was Justin Skor's backup in the first 2 weeks. He didn't have to help those guys block. He could actually, make his initial block and then shed it for the runner route, and Carson Wentz can find him. That's what he is also great at. So that's massive for this team's success to have him being able to do that and run routes while also blocking. Of course, obviously that is a tight end's job. It's basically an offensive lineman that can catch. You got to block and catch though. So He can't do, like, that's why I don't think Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league right now. Or even the last couple years. I thought George Kittle was a much better, well-rounded tight end because he could actually block better and catch just as well. So the fact that TJ is doing both now is massive for this team, and that's, again, massive for Christian Darrisaw, massive because of Christian Darrisaw. And obviously it sucks that Aaron Jones had to go down for Jordan Mason to also get this many carries too, but this needs to be a wake-up call for KOC. KOC needs to see that this team, this running game, is better with when Jordan Mason is the number one. So, yeah, those are my thoughts about the Cincinnati game. Jake Browning looked absolutely awful. I also think that the MVP of this game did not play in this game. I thought Brian Flores was the MVP of this game too. I guess you could have co-MVPs of Isaiah Rodgers and Brian Flores, but I think Brian Flores needs to get a ton of credit for this game because, again, yes, Joe Burrow's not playing. Yes, it's Jake Browning, not Joe Burrow, but they still have two fantastic receivers, arguably the best wide receiver tandem in the entire league. Now we're going on to we'll take a look ahead here. But we're moving on to Pittsburgh and Dublin, and you have Darrisaw that's another week healthy, and you have Harrison Smith another week back from being sick, and you have Jordan Addison another piece coming back from this team, and like to help out Carson Wentz too at quarterback. It's just another option. And I know there was a couple of defensive touchdowns, there's a couple of field goals in there. But this team put up 48 points without Jordan Addison on the field. They put up 48 points, and Jordan Addison, their second best receiver, you could argue that he's either the second or third best target with TJ Hawkinson being in there. But he wasn't on the field. Aaron Jones wasn't on the field either. They had a bell cow running back, basically, and not a tandem. And this team put up 48 points. So absolutely fantastic. And this defense, again, helped out too. And Blake Cashman was out. So fantastic game by this team all around, I think. Not a perfect game, but a fantastic game nonetheless. If we do look ahead here to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are out in Dublin. It is an 8:30 kickoff on Sunday the 28th. J.J. McCarthy and Aaron Jones will both be out. It was confirmed that Carson Wentz is going to be the QB1. J.J. will not play against the Steelers. Justin Skor, Ryan Kelly, Javon Hargrave are still questionable as of now. We haven't gotten the official report yet. The injury report, that needs to come out on Wednesday. So, again, I don't know what else there is to say about this team. Right now, here's what I'll say about this team. I think this is an interesting talking point that I'm sure we'll get into more the closer it is to his return. If Carson Wentz keeps playing well, what happens at that quarterback situation? I personally think you go back to J.J. McCarthy, and if he struggles with a healthy Christian Darrisaw, then you have to take him out. You have to give him a chance, though, with a fully healthy offensive line. You have to give him a chance with a fully healthy offensive line. Because Carson Wentz looked good, but he didn't look like Patrick Mahomes good or Josh Allen good. Like, he wasn't the best quarterback in the league, but he was good enough to get you the win. So that is, and again, I still think it is a question on what happens when McCarthy comes back, and we will get into that more when we know more about when he is coming back. But it was confirmed that he was out this week against the Steelers. Had a bunch of predictions come off the board this week for the Nordic Report. Again, the top one should have come off last week. I said the Vikings will win their home opener. They did not. They lost against the Falcons. Ty Felton would have a touchdown in his first 3 games. He only has 1 reception in his first 3 games. And then the Vikings and Bengals will combine for less than 44.5 points. That might have been the worst beat I have ever had. because the Vikings surpassed by themselves 44.5 points. Said that KOC will win a challenge versus the Bengals. He has not made a challenge this season. On to the good, though. Jordan Mason scores a rushing touchdown before Aaron Jones. Did not expect Aaron Jones to get hurt for this to come true. Jordan Mason did have a touchdown, but it was a receiving touchdown in that first game against the Bears, so that did not count for this. Max Brosmer will be listed as the QB2 for at least one game this year. Because he got into that game, I did not look at the depth chart before the game, but because he got into that game, he had to have been listed as the QB2 because the QB3 can only come into the game if the first two the QB1 and QB2 get hurt. That was basically the Brock Purdy rule from the NFC Championship game a few years back. And then I said the Vikings will beat the Bengals, which they beat the Bengals. That brings the total correct up to 28 out of 76 total predicted for a 37% correct rate. 3 coming on the board here. All 3 are about the Steelers game. So the Vikings will beat the Steelers in Dublin. Justin Jefferson scores at least 1 touchdown in Dublin. And the Steelers score 15 or less points against the Vikings. So all of these could very well come true, and I could go 3 for 3 this week. All right, moving on to the final segment here of the 301 show, the power rankings. If you're new around here, a power ranking segment is something we do at the end of every single episode of the 301 show. It is where we take a Minnesota sports topic and rank the top 10 in that topic. And we have done a bunch of different ones, including best athletes from Minnesota was last week. The biggest what ifs in Minnesota sports history. We did each of the 4 major sports teams Mount Rushmore. And today we have the top 10 best coaches / managers, because baseball has managers, not head coaches. Best coaches or managers of Minnesota sports in Minnesota sports history. So if you want to suggest a topic, I will listen to those suggestions, and I will likely rank them. A lot of these have been, comments or emails or something. Again, you can email the show. It's frozennorth30@gmail.com. It will also be down in the description. Leave them down in the comments, too, if you have suggestion ideas. But the top 10 best coaches coming in here at number 10, we have Ron Gardenhire, Twins manager in the late 2000s, early 2010s, coming in as the 10th best coach / manager of all time. Number 9 is Jacques Lemaire. He took that first ever Wild team to the Western Conference Finals and helped them make it to the Western Conference Finals and establish themselves as a team. Coming in at number 8 is Flip Saunders, the Timberwolves head coach. Wasn't the first one, but was the one that helped them establish themselves in that initial KG era, and also took them to the Western Conference Finals, the NBA Western Conference Finals. Coming in at number 7 here is Dennis Green, the Vikings head coach. All of these, as you'll see, I am sort of prioritizing championships, so these guys haven't won championships until I get to number 6 here. Number 6, I have Cheryl Reeves. And again, you could maybe make the argument that Cheryl should be higher, and I'm definitely willing to hear you out on that one. But Cheryl Reeves comes in as my 6th best head coach in Minnesota sports history. We will get the top 5 up here, but 6 through 10 so far are Cheryl Reeves at 6, Dennis Green at 7, then Flip Saunders at 8, Jacques Lemaire at 9, and Ron Gardenhire at number 10. Coming in here at number 5, we go to college. John Gagliardi, the longtime St. John's head coach, absolute legend. I was Division III, but absolute legend in college football history. We'll stay in college and go back down to the Twin Cities here and go to number 4 as the Gophers head coach, Gophers hockey head coach, John Mariucci. The Gophers arena is named after him. So he comes in at number 4. Number 3 here. Again, some people are probably going to say that they thought he was going to be number 1, but he comes in at number 3. Bud Grant coming in at number 3. Again, the only reason for me he is number 3 is I am prioritizing championships. So number 2 did actually win championships and not just take them to championships. But number 2 here is, we'll go back to the Twins. Number 2, Tom Kelly, winning a couple of World Series with the Twins, the only men's championships, professional men's championships here in Minnesota. And number 1, again, this might be surprising here. Again, it might be my hockey bias coming out, but number 1 for me, hands down, is the coach, Herb Brooks. Miracle team. I know that wasn't fully Minnesota. That was Team USA, but he was the head coach of the Gophers too, and won a couple of national championships on top of winning the Miracle on Ice game against the Soviets and then winning the gold medal that year. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the 301 show. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. You can also email the show. The email is frozennorth30@gmail.com. It's also in the description down below. Any comments, suggestions, questions you have, let me know. And we will see you next time on the 301 show. Peace.